Arr, me hearties, welcome to the re-review. I'm here to regale you with the tale of a mighty pirate by the name of Guybrush, and the people who launched him into infamy. I'm your Captain Zoidberg from UKGN, and in a previous life, I used to review video games for a living. Don't worry, I can't keep that up for an entire video, and I am going to be using my normal voice from now on. In this episode, in honour of International Talk Like a Pirate Day, yes, that's actually a thing, happening on September 19th, and the launch of a brand new game in the series coming on the same day, I'm going to be taking a look back at my original review of Monkey Island 2 LeChuck's Revenge, produced by LucasArts and released in 1992. Monkey Island 2 continued the adventures of Guybrush Threepwood, now a fully fledged pirate and on a quest to find the legendary treasure of Big Whoop. Like the first game, it was a point-and-click adventure game created and designed by Ron Gilbert, working closely with Double Fine founder Tim Schafer and Dave Grossman, who would later go on to work at Telltale Games. Prior to The Secret of Monkey Island, Gilbert had honed his craft as a writer on Zack McCracken and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, as well as being one of the creators of the SCUM system itself for Maniac Mansion. His involvement in the subsequent Monkey Island sequels was to be simply credited as creator, but his work since those days has been memorable too. Firstly, there's the Deathspank trilogy, released on Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network between 2010 and 2011. These paired the writer's trademark humour with a more Diablo style of gameplay. Then there was The Cave from 2013, a personal favourite of mine, which saw Gilbert working closely once more with Tim Schafer at Double Fine to produce a dark, humorous platform puzzle game. His most recent work was Thimbleweed Park, released in 2017, which was a mostly successful attempt to recapture the style of Maniac Mansion. Sadly, LucasArts would only release one more graphic adventure on the Amiga, 1993's Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, which I still maintain should have been the basis of the fourth movie. They instead concentrated on the PC market and continued to produce classics such as Sam & Max, Full Throttle and Day of the Tentacle. Now let's find out what my original review had to say. Issue 35 of GamesX featured the exclusive, first published review of Monkey Island 2 anywhere in the UK, meaning that I was one of the first people outside of LucasArts and publisher US Gold to actually play it. The game's artwork featured on the front cover of the issue, and my review was across a 2-page spread. I remember that I had begged to be allowed to be the one to review the game, after having been such a big fan of the first one. I awarded it the maximum 5 X's out of 5, with an X-rated Game of the Week stamp. Gameplay, lastability and presentation all received 19 out of 20. These were the highest scores that I gave in my entire time on GamesX. I applauded LucasArts for how they'd managed to top the first game in almost every regard. Graphics, music, story, puzzles and of course jokes were all better. The lack of insult sword fighting was disappointing, but the inclusion of things such as a pirate spitting contest more than made up for it. The Amiga version of Monkey Island 2 came on a whopping 11 discs, which was a massive step up from the 4 of the first game. Although you could install it to a hard drive, I didn't have one and I didn't know anybody who did. Consequently, disc swapping was a major issue for some players, although thankfully the development team had clearly thought about it and it was nowhere near as some games in this regard. LucasArts have done it again. LeChuck's Revenge is the best adventure game I've played anywhere. Game of the Year 1992. Bear in mind that last statement was made in an issue that came out in the first week of January. Let's see if it's still the case. Let's start with the screen that first appears when you first load it up. Monkey Island 2 actually gives you a choice between a full fat version or what it refers to here as Monkey 2 Lite. This was actually referred to on the back of the box in a very polite manner as an optional easy mode for beginners and magazine reviewers. Now, it's a very brave developer that actively insults the very people who are going to be critiquing their work. Now, the music in this game is actually very sparse, which is a bit of a shame, because what music there is very, very good. And so here is the game's first antagonist, which is Largo Legrand. As with any sequel, you're always a little bit apprehensive as to whether or not the game is going to be as good as the original was. And the moment at which I worked out that I was in good hands and this game was going to be as good as the first was when you talk to this woodsmith here. And the fact that you get to have this conversation asking how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood, which in itself is a very humorous question, but it's all the different responses that you get. A woodchuck could chuck no amount of wood, since a woodchuck can't chuck wood. But if a woodchuck could chuck wood and would chuck some amount of wood, what amount of wood would a woodchuck chuck? But this interaction with the woodsmith is actually completely irrelevant to the plot, or at least it is at this point. So I'm going to run through all this quite quickly. The next thing that I need to get is the monocle and some paper from the cartographer. So there's some paper down here. If I pick up paper, then you need to wait by the table here, because the cartographer, as you can see, will put down his monocle from time to time. And when he does, you need to steal it. And then leave. One of the great ways that they use the scum system is that you can actually, when you hover over an item or a character, it will highlight something that you can instantly access by pressing the right mouse button, rather than have to work out what the best thing to press is. As before, Guybrush's boundless enthusiasm makes him a very easy character to root for, even in the face of the fact that practically every other character in the game insults him in some way. Now, I am actually playing this on the A500 Mini, and the advantage of doing this using the WHD load file is that I have actually completely obliterated all of the loading pauses and disk swapping. So now what I need to do here on Scab Island is I need to go to the swamp. And if you look at the gravestones, they will tell you who's buried here. The good news is he's dead. The bad news is he bred. Right, so that's Largo's great uncle, or I think his grandfather. So if I use the shovel on that grave, so it is possible to play through and finish this game in a relatively short amount of time. But I would strongly encourage you, if you've never played this game before, to try and interact with as much as you can and talk to as many people as you can, because some of the because you'll be missing out on some fantastic dialogue if you do skip it the way that I'm doing here. There are better ways to play this game these days with the arrival of the talkie edition on the PC for starters, and then the special edition that came out on consoles and PC much later on. They have some fantastic voice work throughout, but I think there's part of the joy of playing these games back in the day was the fact that as you read the dialogue, you would have a voice in your head for each character. This is one of the few games in the world that has actually made me laugh out loud more than once. Back when I played it originally, a few of the jokes a lot of the jokes are genuinely funny, and it's impossible to play through this game without smiling while doing so. So here we go, all the work that we've been doing has led to this. Use pins in Voodoo Doll. There we go. So the only thing left to do is to charter a ship and get off the island, and then that's the end of part 1. Like I say, I've played through this very quickly because I've played this game that many times that I can still remember what to do with all these puzzles. But the first time I played this, that was a good 6 hours of gameplay to get to do all this bit. Walking around, talking to everybody, trying to solve all the puzzles. But it wasn't 6 hours of frustration, it was 6 hours of pure joy. And for me, this still remains the adventure game by which all other LucasArts games are measured. Very definitely the peak of the Monkey Island series. It was all downhill from here. That's not to say that the other games were rubbish. It's just that's how good this game was. Monkey Island 2 remains, to this day, one of my top 10 games of all time, so it's no surprise that I really enjoyed playing it again. We've seen plenty of hilarious games released over the years, from Portal 2 to South Park, but Monkey Island 2 remains the gold standard for how to do comedy in gaming. In the adventure genre alone, its influence is everywhere. I very much doubt games such as Discworld, Simon the Sorcerer and the Book of Unwritten Tales would exist without it. Due to only allowing 32 colours on screen, the Amiga version is a little lacking in the visual department, especially compared to the 256 colour PC version. Fortunately, the artists have done a decent job of making sure that the backgrounds and animation are still great. The presentation is the one area where the game hasn't aged the best, but the fact that there is genuine artistry behind the visuals definitely helps. I still found solving the puzzles to be an absolute joy. Over the years, I've seen some people criticise it for being a little bit too obscure, but I've honestly never found that to be the case. When I originally reviewed it, I played and finished the game over one long weekend without any hints. No need to use that easier mode for magazine reviewers. It would easily get 9 out of 10 if I reviewed it today, maybe even a perfect 10. For me, it's easily the best game that was released in 1992, mainly because the PAL version of Super Mario Kart didn't come out until 1993. Thank you all for watching this re-review. We really welcome your support for our channel. I upload a new episode every 2 weeks, and if you enjoyed this one, then please do check out the playlist to watch all previous episodes. If you like, subscribe and ring the bell, you'll make sure that you don't miss out on the next one, and I'll have a little musical hint of what that one's going to be coming up soon. Catch me over on Twitter at UKJenzoidberg, where you can talk to me about Amiga games and find out whatever it is that I'm currently playing. Until next time, happy retro gaming, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.